Hello and welcome to Unacademy. This is an op-ed piece written by Miss Sonia Gandhi in today's The Hindu newspaper. Delimitation and not women's reservation is the issue. And in this video, we will discuss A to Z of delimitation. What is delimitation? How is it related to the women's reservation, the census? Why are the southern states, particularly Tamil Nadu, anxious about the impending delimitation exercise? Long story short, this is the only video that you need to watch to get a complete understanding of the delimitation and its various controversies. So let's get started. But first up, Constitution of India. One of the objectives of the Constitution, as mentioned in the preamble, is political justice. We, the people of India, having solemnly resolved to constitute India into a sovereign, socialist, secular, democratic republic, and to secure to all its citizens justice, social, economic, political. Now, what is this political justice? No arbitrary distinction between a man and a man in political affair. What does that mean? If rich are allowed to vote 3 times in the same election and the poor are allowed to vote only once, don't you think this is arbitrary distinction between man and a man in political affair? This is not allowed by the Constitution. Which means one of the tools through which political justice is ensured in India is the value of one person, one vote, one value as well. One person, one vote, one value. What does that mean? If 10 lakh people are represented by one MP in the Lok Sabha from the state of Uttar Pradesh, 10 lakh people should be represented in the Lok Sabha from a state in Kerala as well. And that is how we ensure one person, one value, one vote. Imagine a situation if 32 lakh individuals in UP are represented by one MP in the Lok Sabha, and in Kerala only 18 lakh people are represented by one MP in the Lok Sabha, don't you think the value of vote of somebody who is residing in Kerala is more than the value of the vote of an individual who resides in Uttar Pradesh? That is why Constitution says under Article 81 that we will assign seats to different states in the Lok Sabha in such a manner that the ratio between the number and population of that state remains the same for all the states. But look at this phrase used, as far as practicable. What does this phrase mean? I won't tell you now, I'll tell you slightly later, so stay with me till the end. This is a very important phrase, which means seats will be assigned to various states in the Lok Sabha in such a manner that for all the states, the ratio between the number and the population remains the same. Which is why Article 82 says readjustment after each census. How do we get to know what is the population of a particular state? For that, there is a decadal exercise known as census. Every 10 years, this census exercise is carried out. And Constitution says after every census, there should be a readjustment. Which means as the population increases, corresponding to that, seats in the Lok Sabha should also increase. Which means states which will see an increase in population should see an increase in their representation in the Lok Sabha as well. States correspondingly which see a decline in the population should see a reduction in the Lok Sabha as well. That's what the Constitution says under Article 82. And that is how delimitation was carried out after each census since the commencement of the Constitution. Which means after the census of 1951, in 1952, delimitation was carried out. Then after the census of 1961, in 63, delimitation was carried out. After the census of 1971, in 1973, delimitation was carried out. And what is this delimitation? Basically, increase in the number of seats as there is an increase in the population. How do we get to know the increase in the population? Based on the decadal census exercise. Right or wrong? That's how seats got increased in the Lok Sabha. From 489, 494, 513 to current 543. This is the strength of the Lok Sabha when delimitation was carried out in 1973 based on the population figures of 1971. After that, delimitation was supposed to be conducted in after the census of 81, after the census of 1991, after the census of 2001, after the census of 2011, after the census of 2021, because after every census there should be readjustment. But then something happened immediately after this delimitation was carried out. What happened? Stay with me, because first I have to share some important information with you and then we will continue with this lecture. If you're preparing for the civil services examination through online courses, then I am introducing an online course which is redefining civil services preparation in India, Unacademy Platinum. Basically, there are so many details, so many changes, so many improvements as compared to a traditional online course that I will spend 30 minutes just explaining the features of Unacademy Platinum. But I won't do that. Instead, I urge you to experience Unacademy Platinum. The link is provided in the video description. Click on that link and experience Unacademy Platinum for free. Basically, in Unacademy Platinum, the teacher-student ratio is 1:100. That means a teacher is teaching 100 students in a batch. But how? The camera of the students is also on. So teacher gets to see the students as well, and then teacher gets to see whether the students are attentive while during the class or not, and this is an interactive feature of Unacademy Platinum. Apart from that, there are students, Unacademy students also, who are slightly confused about what are the different courses that we offer, subscriptions that we offer. For example, we have Plus, we have Iconic, we have Platinum. In Platinum courses, you get access to all the courses of Unacademy as well, UPSC courses. But Platinum students have exclusive access to the Graphy platform where the Unacademy Platinum classes are conducted live. This is where your camera will be on, you will be live interacting with the teachers. The teachers are going to hold you accountable because every student is mapped with a teacher who is teaching on this platform. So you will be guided by the teachers. You have access to all the optional subjects. You have a super mentor, somebody who has cracked the civil services examination, now is already part of the service, and even then he or she is mentoring you, guiding you towards this examination. So many features. That's why I told you I won't spend a lot of time explaining the features. All you can do is experience Unacademy Platinum for free. The link is in the description. Let's continue. I told you after each census, delimitation has to be carried out. This was carried out after the census of 51, 61, 71. But then this was supposed to be carried out in 1981 as well, after the census of 1981. This is where the southern states protested. Southern states said if population is the only criteria to see an increased representation in the Lok Sabha, on one hand you are asking us to effectively implement family planning programs to control the population explosion. How can we control the population, stabilize the population, if on the basis of population you are going to provide representation to states in the Lok Sabha? Otherwise, there is no incentive for us to limit the population explosion. And that is how, when Shrimati Indira Gandhi was the Prime Minister, 42nd Constitutional Amendment Act was passed. And this Constitutional Amendment Act said, now we will not conduct delimitation exercise for the next 25 years. Which means this amendment was enacted in 1976. And this Constitutional Amendment Act said, now till 2001, delimitation will not be carried out. But what was the reason? Reason everybody knows, it is obvious. But specifically, officially, no reason was provided. Which means 1981, no delimitation. 1991, no delimitation. Now delimitation can be carried out after the census of 2001. Which means delimitation should be carried out. This is where the southern states protested again. Mr. Atal Bihari Vajpayee was the Prime Minister, 84th Constitutional Amendment Act was passed. And this 84th Constitutional Amendment Act said, we will conduct delimitation, but we will freeze the seats. The total number of seats, which stands at 543 in the Lok Sabha, will remain the same till 2026. Which means for another 25 years, because this amendment was carried out in 2001, for another 25 years, which means till 2026, we will not increase the number of seats in the Lok Sabha. Why? Because we want to provide opportunity to the states to stabilize and control their population, which means explicit reason was provided, not by 42nd Amendment, but by 84th Amendment. What is that amendment? That amendment said, we will conduct delimitation after the census of 2001, but we will freeze the total number of seats. Total number of seats will remain 543, and it will change only after 2026. Then why was delimitation carried out in 2001? Delimitation was carried out in the year 2002 after the census of 2001, but it took 6 years for this delimitation exercise to complete. Final order of delimitation came in 2008. But what was the need? There were two important reasons. Reason number one, for example, you can't increase the total number of seats which will remain 543 till 2026. Right or wrong? Right. But we know that in Lok Sabha there are seats reserved for SCs and STs. For example, there used to be 31 seats reserved for STs based on delimitation exercise which was carried out in 1973. But the population of STs have increased. Population of SCs also has increased. So we will increase their seats without changing the total number of seats. Which means total number of seats will remain 543, but the seats reserved for STs will increase from 31 to 41. Similarly, the seats for SCs will also increase from 77 to 79, which means total number of seats reserved for SCs and STs would see an increase because of this delimitation exercise without increasing the total number of seats overall. That's why delimitation was carried out. Long story short, in 2002, the final award came in 2008. Delimitation was carried out to ensure that the seats reserved for SCs and STs should see an increase corresponding to the increase in their respective population. Then delimitation was carried out for another reason also, and that is what we call internal delimitation. Internal delimitation in the sense, for example, this is a state and there are 3 seats, 3 constituencies in this particular state. The last time delimitation was carried out was in 1973. Let's assume that the delimitation was carried out in such a manner that these 3 seats would see increase, would see seats allocated in such a manner that for every 10 lakh population, there is 1 MP, there is 1 representative. But what if after the census of 1981, 1991, 2001, we see increase in the population, but this increase in population is not symmetric. Maybe the population here has increased to 15 lakh, but here it has increased to 25 lakh. Here it has increased to 30 lakh. Which means internally there is violation of 1 person, 1 value, 1 vote. 15 lakh people represented by 1 MP, 25 lakh people represented by 1 MP, 30 lakh people represented by 1 MP. To resolve this anomaly, what the delimitation said, 30 lakh, 55 lakh, 60, 70 lakh, divide the 70 lakh by 3 so that we can have 1 person, 1 value, 1 vote recognized. I'm giving a very simplistic explanation because population alone is not the only criteria for delimitation. There are various other factors also, which we will discuss later. But to simply make you understand The reason why delimitation was carried out in 2002, the final award came in 2008. The specific reason was, number one, we want to see an increase in the number of seats for SCs and STs in Lok Sabha. We want to see internal delimitation. That means within the state, without increasing the total number of seats, we should ensure one person, one value, one vote. Now, after the census of 2001, when delimitation was carried out, further constitution was amended to say now we will not conduct delimitation till after 2026. That means only after 2026 delimitation will be carried out. Normally, after 2026, when would census exercise be carried out? 2031. Because it's a decadal exercise. 2001, then there was census in 2011, then there was supposed to be census in 2021. But it is this census of 2021 which got delayed. Why? Because the government says because of COVID. Let's assume that there was COVID, which there was, but let's assume COVID led to this delay. There was no COVID in 2023 or 24 or 25 or 26. But now the government says census will be carried out and it will be complete by 2027. Once the census of 2027 is done, only after that delimitation will be carried out, which means by 2029, we would be ready with a delimitation exercise. So that instead of waiting till 2031 to carry out census and then delimitation, and that would take many years, which means finally new seats, increase in the seats would have taken place only after 2034. Basically, maybe because of this reason, the government said we will delay census till 2027, then carry out delimitation. Since it is going to be digital first census, we will be quickly through the census exercise. Then delimitation also can be carried out quickly. So by 2029, we are ready with an increased and a bigger parliament. And by the way, we have a new parliament now whose seating capacity has also increased. Right or wrong? Right. But then there are southern states which are protesting that if we increase the total number of seats on the basis of population, the southern states which have done exceptionally well in stabilizing the population, in controlling the population, they might see a reduction in the total number of seats. And the northern states, particularly Hindi-speaking states of UP, Bihar, Madhya Pradesh, Rajasthan, they will see an increase. This is where different proposals were floated by different sections of the society. This is how we need to look at delimitation and solve the problem. Then in 2023, the Parliament enacted Women's Reservation Act, basically saying that 1/3 of the seats in the Lok Sabha and in the state legislative assemblies would be reserved for women. But then there were some conditions imposed. Conditions such as this women's reservation would be implemented only after the delimitation exercise, the next delimitation exercise. For next delimitation exercise to take place, we need to conduct the census. Since census 2021 got delayed, now census would be complete by 2027, which means only after that delimitation will take place. If the last delimitation took place in 2008, it took 6 years for the delimitation award to be finalized. It might take more time this time, and ultimately we will be able to implement women's reservation only by 2034. Opposition raised this issue in the parliament, said let's implement women's reservation now. Why do we need to wait for census and delimitation exercise? We can do this on the basis of the census figures of 2011. But then the government did not listen. In fact, matter went to the court as well. In fact, court did not direct the central government to implement women's reservation because separation of powers. One organ cannot force the other organ in taking decisions. But be that as it may, now there is a proposal. A special session of parliament may be convened on the 16th of April, where Women's Reservation Act would be amended so that we can say that delimitation will be carried out, but not on the basis of the census of 2027, but on the basis of the census of 2011, which was already conducted. So based on the previous census of 2011, we will conduct delimitation, and basis that we will reserve 1/3 of the seats in Lok Sabha and state legislative assemblies for women. And for that, a special session of the parliament would be convened. Be that as it may, what are the different ways of looking at delimitation? One side of the argument is go ahead with delimitation because this is a constitutional requirement. Constitution says after each census there should be readjustment. We stopped it in 1976, then further stopped in 2001. For how long can we delay political justice in this country? Because one person, one value, one vote, which is equated with political equality, it cannot be put on the back burner for so long. Robert Dahl, on political equality, he writes that all human beings are of equal intrinsic worth. And this is the significance of political equality. This idea of Robert Dahl, that all human beings are of equal intrinsic worth. That means the value of my vote has the same worth as the value of your vote because we are the citizens of India. Look at the problems right now. In UP, 32 lakh people are represented by one MP in the Lok Sabha. And in Kerala, only 18 lakh people are represented by one MP. Don't you think the value of vote of an individual in Kerala is more than the value of vote of an individual in UP? And for this reason, to resolve this paradox, we need to go ahead with delimitation exercise, respecting population, one person, one value, one vote. That's number one. I told you at the start that Constitution says that seats should be assigned to states in such a manner that the ratio of the population and the total number of seats remains the same. But there I use the phrase which Constitution has mentioned, as far as practicable. As far as practicable in the sense, listen to me carefully. According to Shruti Rajagopalan of George Mason University, she is an economist. She says that if we look at current population, based on the current population, Tamil Nadu has 9 seats more. Kerala has 6 seats more than their population. And look at the states such as Bihar and UP. Bihar has 9 seats less than their population. UP has 12 seats less than their population. So how can you say this? Let's suppose we say every 10 lakh individuals should be represented by one MP. Now we look at the population of a particular state, looking at UP, we would realize that, okay, if for every 10 lakh people there should be one MP, then UP is 12 seats short. They should not have only 80, they should have 92. Bihar is 9 seats short, they should not have 42, they should have 51. Or 40, they should not have 40, they should have 49. Similarly, Tamil Nadu, when we look at their population, they should have 9 seats less than what they have currently. Kerala should have 6 seats less than what they have currently. That is why the proponents of delimitation, they say, let's go back to the original idea. The original idea after the first census, after the first delimitation was, for every 7.5 lakh population, we should have one MP. And if we use that as the barometer, if we use that as the benchmark, then right now Lok Sabha should have 1872 seats. But the new parliament building which has been constructed, it has the capacity of only 80 seats. So can we accommodate 1872 MPs in the Lok Sabha as per the current strength of the Lok Sabha, as per the seating arrangement in the Lok Sabha? And for that, we need a major upgrade. Maybe we need a new parliament building. But notice this number, 880. I'm going to tell you something important about this number slightly later. Park your thoughts. Article 81. ratio between the number and population of that state should be same for all the states, but it mentions so far as practicable, which means you can also deviate from this model. Deviate from this model in the sense, for example, in Goa and Arunachal Pradesh, these are smaller states in terms of population. By that logic, they will have very less representation in the Lok Sabha if population alone is the criteria. That is why for such states, even with less population, they have more seats in the Lok Sabha. Is this violation of the constitution? No, because constitution says as far as practicable. Because if there are other considerations, we have to give respect to other considerations and accordingly decide seats for a particular state. How? This is what we call asymmetric federalism. Listen to me carefully. In federalism, there are two units, union and states. Does that mean all the 28 states should be treated equally? No. If union and states, if all the states are treated equally, we say it is symmetric federalism. There is symmetry. Every state is treated similarly, equally. But if there is a variation, deviation, some states are treated differently. For example, states such as Nagaland. Can a parliamentary law, for example, tomorrow the parliament passes Uniform Civil Code, will it be applicable to Nagaland? No. It won't be applicable because they have a special status under Article 371. That is why even in Uttarakhand, where we have a Uniform Civil Code, is it applicable to the tribals of that state? No, it's not. Which means asymmetric federalism. And for that reason, does that mean in all the 28 states or all the 8 union territories, we will focus on one fixed formula, 10 lakh, 1 MP, 10 lakh, 1 MP. No, we can deviate as well. Some states, even if they have lesser population, they may be given seats for every 8 lakh population, as has happened for Goa and Arunachal Pradesh. This is what is called, what is the meaning of this phrase, so far as practicable. And park your thoughts again. I'm going to come back to this phrase very soon. So one set of argument is conduct delimitation exercise, let population be the sole criteria because that's the vision of constitution. Second argument is, for example, given by the Chief Minister of the state of Tamil Nadu, 30-year status quo on Lok Sabha seats. Why do we need another controversy right now? Why should southern states be penalized for doing good? For example, what is the difference between tax and a fine? You pay tax if you're doing good. If you're earning well, you're doing good, you pay tax. You pay fine for doing something wrong. Fine for illegal parking, right? Fine for smoking in public places. So fine is something that you pay for doing something wrong. Tax is something that you pay for doing good. Tamil Nadu says delimitation exercise is like a fine for us. Because we were told to control the population, we stabilized the population. We have performed spectacularly well in controlling and stabilizing the population. And for that, we have to now pay the fine in terms of delimitation. Which means the northern states, so-called Bimaru states, they have not been able to control and stabilize their population. Now they will be given more incentive for doing bad, for not controlling the population. If you have not controlled the population, here you go. You get more seats in the Lok Sabha. You have controlled the population, here you go. You see a reduction in your seats. That's why Tamil Nadu CM, Mr. Stalin says, for 30 years, let's have a status quo. So that maybe in 30 years, we are going to have population stabilized throughout the country. So this is way forward number 2. Way forward number 3. Some individuals, some experts, they say freeze Lok Sabha. Let's have the strength of the Lok Sabha fixed at 543. It should not go beyond that. Instead, we can increase the Legislative Assembly. For example, if the Tamil Nadu Legislative Assembly's strength goes up to 400, why should UP or Rajasthan protest? Similarly, if the strength of the UP Assembly goes from 403 to 503 or 603, what is the problem of Tamil Nadu or Kerala or Andhra Pradesh or Telangana or Maharashtra? So we can make population as the basis for increasing the number of seats in the Legislative Assembly, but freeze Lok Sabha because it is controversial. And we can reform Rajya Sabha. For example, Rajya Sabha is considered to be the second chamber of Indian Parliament, federal chamber of Indian Parliament. Rajya Sabha represents the interests of the states in the Parliament. This is similar to Senate that we have in United States. But in United States, population is not the criteria for Senate. Each state, regardless of your population, will get 2 senators in the Senate. That is why 50 states in United States each have 2 representatives, 2 senators in the Senate. Maybe that is something that we can replicate in India. Why should UP have 31 MPs in the Rajya Sabha? Tamil Nadu 19, Andhra Pradesh 11, Telangana 7. We should have uniform representation of states in the Rajya Sabha. Here population should not be the criteria. States should be the criteria. Maybe let's have 5 seats each for all the states in India, regardless of your population. Or maybe have 3 types of states. States with a particular band of population, larger states, you will get 7 seats. States, another band of population, you'll get 5 seats. States which have smaller population, you'll get 3 seats. Maybe it is time to reform Rajya Sabha rather than focusing on delimitation exercise to Lok Sabha. That's option number 3. For example, an analysis was conducted by Mr. Milan Vaishnav and Jamie Hinston. What they say if Lok Sabha seats are allocated based on the projected population of 2026, what is the population of India in 1991, then in 2001, then in 2011, statistics as a science can be employed to see how it will project in 2021, how it will change in 2026, how it will change in 2031. So we may have the projection, although we don't have the census, but we may have a projection what is the population figures in 2026 across the states. In that scenario, the southern states would be losers. Kerala would be down by 8 seats. Tamil Nadu down by 8 seats. Andhra Pradesh, Telangana combined, they will see loss of 8 seats. Why combined? Because Andhra Pradesh and Telangana, according to 2011 census, they were one state. Karnataka would be down by 2 seats. West Bengal would lose seats. Odisha will lose seats. Punjab will lose seats. That means basically all the non-Hindi speaking states will lose seats. And the Hindi speaking states will see an increase. Uttar Pradesh up by 11. Bihar up by 10. Rajasthan up by 6. Madhya Pradesh up by 4 seats. The only Hindi speaking states which will see a decline would be Himachal and Uttarakhand. But both will be down by 1 seat each. And that will create tensions in the society where northern Hindi speaking states will have a dominance in the Lok Sabha. And this is against the spirit of the constitution, which is non-dominance. Can one region, one caste, one linguistic group, one caste group, one religious group dominate others? No. Constitution talks about justice, and that model of justice includes the spirit of non-dominance. Now listen to me carefully. Very important. I told you we are a federal polity. In federal polity, we have 2 units, union and states. United States of America is considered to be the classic federal state. What do we mean by federalism? It is derived from a Latin word fidus, which means contract or an agreement or a treaty, which means states in United States, they came together and created United States of America because of a treaty, because of an agreement. But India is unlike that coming together federalism. India was not created because states decided to come together and create India. No. Even then, there are people such as Mr. Yogendra Yadav. They say, even if there was no contract, no treaty, no agreement to create India, we need an agreement now. And what is that agreement? Listen to me carefully. Carefully. Why is Tamil Nadu protesting? Karnataka protesting? Kerala protesting? Maharashtra also protesting to such an extent? They say population alone cannot be the criteria of delimitation. Which means you can't say, if you have got more population, you will get more representation. That's unfair according to them. But then look at Finance Commission. Finance Commission is a constitutional body established by the President under Article 280 of the Constitution every 5 years. And it is this Finance Commission which decides allocation of funds to various states. For example, income tax, corporate tax. These taxes get deposited in the Consolidated Fund of India. Now, this revenue which gets deposited in the Consolidated Fund of India, it needs to be distributed with the states. On what basis? On what criteria? That criteria is decided by the Finance Commission. States such as Maharashtra, Tamil Nadu, Karnataka, they say we should get more funds. Why is UP, Bihar getting more funds? They are told, because these are the states which need it more. These states are saying, no, whatever we contribute, whatever percentage we contribute to these divisible pool of taxes, we are the largest, best performing states. We contribute more to these taxes. If we contribute more, we should get more revenue. We should get more share. This is the similar argument. You have more population, you get more seats. You contribute more, you get more share of funds. But what do we say? We talk about non-dominance. In this non-dominance, we talk about what is the reality, what is the need. If those who are not doing well, they need more funds, we will give it to them. That is why northeastern states, despite contributing less in terms of taxes, they will also get the share. Otherwise, they will not get any share. Should we allow them to feed for themselves? Or should we also prioritize them and give them revenue from this Consolidated Fund of India? Same goes with UP, same goes with Bihar. Basically, we need this contract. This contract in the sense, population alone cannot be the determining factor to decide seats. Similarly, you can't have a cake and eat it too. Similarly, your contribution to revenue should not be deciding your tax share. This is the contract needed between the northern states and the southern states, or those states which have controlled the population and those states which are unable to control the population. You give up your demand, we will give up our demand. Which is that demand? You give up your demand that population alone should be the criteria for delimitation, which will be disadvantageous for the northern states. And you give up your demand that your revenue generating capacity will dictate your contribution to tax, will dictate your share in these taxes. This will be disadvantageous to the southern states. And once this contract is done, give and take, that will lead to a true spirit of federalism in India. Because after all, agreements are give and take. You lose some, you give some. That's what Yogendra Yadav says. That is option number 3. Option number 4 is, don't go for delimitation at all, neither in Lok Sabha nor in the state legislative assemblies. Why? Scholar Alastair Macmillan, he writes in Redistricting in Comparative Perspective. He says, between 2001 and 2026, the population of Uttar Pradesh has increased by 55.33%. Population of Bihar has increased by 51.4%. Tamil Nadu also has seen an increase, obviously. Maharashtra also, Karnataka also. But this increase has been less as compared to UP and Bihar. Therefore, if delimitation is carried out, it will be more advantageous to UP Bihar, less advantageous, or should we say disadvantageous, to states such as Tamil Nadu, Kerala, Karnataka, Maharashtra, so on and so forth. But then if you make population as the criteria, does that mean if we increase the number of MPs in the Lok Sabha, or if we increase the number of MLAs in Legislative Assembly, suddenly we will see good number of laws being enacted by the legislature? Will we see less ruckus in the parliament if there are more MPs? Will we see good quality laws being debated and passed in the parliament if there are more MPs? Just by increasing the MPs, will we, long story short, see a productive parliament or a productive state legislature? We would still have seen ruckus, pandemonium, circus in the parliament. Chairs thrown at each other, microphone thrown at each other, that bills are torn by the legislators. We may not have seen good quality laws, even if there is an increase in the number of seats. And that is why some people ask, and this is something which was asked in the Constituent Assembly as well, when this clause was being debated, that after each census there should be delimitation and we will see an increase in the number of seats. One member of the Constituent Assembly, he asked, do we need a parliament or do we need a mela? A parliament which is bigger in size. It will lead to more noise, more chaos. Do we need the chaos or do we need the substance? And imagine the cost. More MPs, which means more burden on taxpayer like you and me, because we have to pay them salaries and other allowances. It will see increase in the number of ministers also, because Constitution says the total number of ministers, including the Prime Minister, should not be more than 15% of the Lok Sabha, 15% of the Legislative Assembly. So if it is 15% of 543, tomorrow, if it is 15% of 816, which means the Council of Ministers, the strength will increase, which means more ministers will be appointed. More ministers appointed, more money you have to pay in the form of their salaries and allowances, which means more dent on the state exchequer. What we need is a united India and not a bigger parliament. Then there is another argument. Kerala as a basis. What is Kerala as a basis? All the states have seen increase in the population since 1971 onwards. Some states have seen more increase, some states have seen lesser increase. For example, if we look at this analysis, UP and Bihar, between 2001 till 2026, UP has seen 55% increase. Now let's compare it from 1971, the last time delimitation was carried out, the last time census was carried out, on the basis of which delimitation was carried out. Basis then in 1981, 1991, 2001, 2011, 2021 or 2026 census, if you look at all these census exercises, some states would have seen an increase of more than 100% in population. UP, Bihar. Some states would have seen less. Let's use that state. For example, Kerala. Kerala has seen the lowest increase in the population, which is 68%. Then let's do one thing. What do? We will increase the seats in the Lok Sabha from 543 to 68% of 543. Which means every state will see an increase, not according to their population, but according to the 68%. UP will see 68% increase. Tamil Nadu will see 68% increase. That means no state will lose its representation. Every state will gain, but not disproportionately according to their population, but according to a specific percentage a benchmark, which is the Kerala population figure. And perhaps it is this argument which is slightly accepted by the union government. What is that formula? According to various newspaper reports, in the upcoming session of the Parliament, constitutional amendment bill will be introduced where women's reservation will be implemented based on the census of 2011. So delimitation will be carried out on the basis of 2011 census. But then, how many seats will a particular state increase? How many seats will a particular state see an increase in their seats? According to Home Minister, Mr. Amit Shah, he says no state will lose. Which means if no state will lose seats, that means this formula, the existing formula, that Tamil Nadu will lose 8, Andhra and Telangana will lose 8, Kerala will lose 6, this won't be implemented. Then what will be implemented? A formula where every state will see an increase. And what is that proposal? 50%. Every state will see 50% increase in the number of seats. Which means UP will have 120, up from 80. Which means Tamil Nadu will also see an increase, 50%. Which means 50% seats increase. Now our parliament will become from 543 to 816. The number of seats will be increased to 816. And what is the capacity of the parliament? 880. What is the capacity in this parliament to accommodate? 880, the Lok Sabha. And if 50% seats will be increased in the Lok Sabha, every state will gain 50%. Now, nobody will complain that our state got less, you got more, we saw a reduction, you saw a massive increase. And out of these, 273 will be reserved for women. Because Constitution says 1/3 of the seats in Lok Sabha and legislative assemblies will be reserved for women. It seems like the fairest of all the proposals that we have discussed thus far. Don't reduce seats, increase it by 50%, but across, so that no state can complain. There will be still some noises. Some states will say, we have seen just a slight increase, but UP and Bihar, they have seen a massive increase. Maharashtra has seen a massive increase. But at least there is a formula, a fairer of all the other formulas that we have discussed till now. But then there will be another controversy. Constitution says under Article 329 that any award of the delimitation cannot be challenged in a court of law. Electoral matters are beyond the purview of the courts. What are these electoral matters? Maybe very soon we will discuss the controversy surrounding special intensive revision, SIR, which is being carried out in different states. Started off with Bihar. But can the order of delimitation commission be challenged in the Supreme Court? Constitution says no. But then there will be the allegations of gerrymandering. And what is that? Let's suppose there are 3 seats. And this is the ruling party in power. This party in power is supported by this group A. I will not call it either a religious group or a caste group or a linguistic group or a regional group, nothing. Just understand the concept. This is the ruling party. And ruling party today is the BJP. Tomorrow it can be Congress. Day after it can be my political party. So we will not restrict it to the parties. Let's call it a ruling party or party in power. It is supported by this group A. If you look at the population in this constituency, 90% belong to this group. Here, 30%. Here, 20%. Which means this ruling party will be able to easily win a seat, this seat, second seat, but will not be able to win one or third seat. Now delimitation will be carried out. One kind of delimitation is readjustment, which means the number of seats will increase from 3 to 6. Or it can be internal delimitation. We will not increase the total number of seats. We will just reorganize the population. Maybe what will happen, what this delimitation commission will do, if it is under the influence of the party in power, it will shift population. And then this seat will have A's population, which is now 50%. Here it will have A's population, which is 40%. Which means this constituency number 2 will still have 50% people supporting A, supporting this ruling party. Which means now instead of winning just one seat, it may win all the 3 seats. That means redrawing the electoral boundaries of the constituencies in such a manner that it favors the ruling political party, that is gerrymandering. If it happens, can the Supreme Court interfere? Originally, we thought that the award of the Delimitation Commission cannot be challenged in any court. For example, when delimitation was carried out in Jammu and Kashmir, 7 seats were to be increased. 6 seats were given to Jammu. 1 seat was given to Kashmir. Despite the fact that Kashmir's population is more than that of Jammu. And Delimitation Commission, which was headed by the former judge of the Supreme Court, Ms. Ranjana Desai, she gave another reason. She said population is not the only criteria. We have to look at other criteria as well. Criteria such as if it's a hilly area, if this area is bordering, is on the international border, there is a neighboring country on the other side. It may not be habitable, but despite the fact that there is a big area where less number of people are residing, even then we can give it a seat, we can give it a constituency. An important judgment was given by the court in 2024. Kishore Chandra Chhagan Lal Rathore v. Union of India. Supreme Court said even the award of the Delimitation Commission can be challenged before the court if this award is manifestly arbitrary. Because you cannot violate Article 14 of the Constitution. If it is against the constitutional values of, let's say, secularism, justice. On these grounds, the award of the Delimitation Commission can be challenged in the court. What do you think of delimitation exercise? What is the ideal solution to this controversy? Should delimitation happen? Not happen? If it has to happen, on what basis? Is the centre's proposed formula a good formula, a workable formula to solve this issue and resolve this controversy? Do let me know in the comment section, and do not forget to subscribe to our channel if you haven't yet. Thank you for watching. Goodbye.